Mabrika, 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 Mabrika means welcome in Taino. What's going on, everybody? Again, I care for all of you. You know what I'm saying? First thing, first note is if you can't subscribe, man, share the video, subscribe. And if you don't like it, so what? You give it a thumbs down. So what? I still care for you, man. This is not for everybody. This is for those who are really making an effort to go online with the multiverse, and that's what this is about. Okay. I got my frequency generator going on. Let me put up the volume, and that's the Hertz 228 Hertz, which is deal with the root chakra. Now, this is I'm going to be recap a little bit because I don't want no stone unturned. You know what I'm saying? And I want to recap a couple of things and make sure that everything is being clarified. You know. So again, we're dealing with the nine energy centers, which is the nine chakras, which mean wheel in Sanskrit. Okay, the energy centers, and the first one is the Earth Center, which is deals with your genetic blueprint and your ancestral patterns, and how that is so very important. Now, let me tell you something. And speaking about that, I don't want everybody to think that I am just invested in, like, for instance, Taino ancestry or African, or European, and any one of those ancestry lines. I'm not invested in that because we all are of the human race, okay? And now they're doing their science now has the ability to go into these genetic data that they're extracting from all over different continents. And what they're finding out that there is an ancestry pattern that precedes far from what we know today. You know what I'm saying? That there's genetics in Africa that precedes. There's genetic in Puerto Rico. They found that precedes any of those Caribbean tribes that they said that have migrated to that area. Even Taino precedes ancient. So as you go further into that, you come to find out that we are all human sapiens. We are all part of the same people that came from the waters. When this planet was first formed, that water, that landmass that was watery, the planet was dense in this water fog. You know what I'm saying? When you go into physics and you study about the forming of planets and how this planet was formed, and so we're birthed out of water. We know that. When you're born, the water breaks. We are born in water, and the same thing with the human species, born in this water. And when that land mass rises up because of the conditions, and it rises up, the water atmosphere became finer and finer and finer. We were able to adapt to it. Okay, I spoke about that in another podcast about the what fungi, bacteria, and certain organisms that stem from those bowels from earth, from the bowels, and then through the origination, the evolution, and the revolution back to the origination. It's a cycle that we as human sapien, now becoming human spiritus, have been through all these different cycles. But I wanted to just say that. So when you deal with ancestral patterns and genetic blueprint, some of us, because of the studies, we can go back, tap onto a grid that goes back in ancient time. We got the capability of doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have this sense of being in the multiverse, being planetary, and being able to human experience is experienced by all races. You know what I'm saying? The same experience, natural nature. You're able to make those connections. That's because genetically you opened up that Akasha, what they call the Akasha record, or the book of life in religion, that's opened up and it's giving you life. You know what I'm saying? But what I wanted to say, so I wanted to just to clarify that, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know everything. I do not know everything. It's me learning as I speak. I learn also because I listen to myself. I listen to what I'm saying also. So that's very important too. You know what I'm saying? To listen to yourself and the all is the all. You can't take away from the all. You can't, because if you take away from the all, where will you put it at? If you put it to the all, where did you get it from? So the all is the all, that concept. And I want you to think about nature is the all in the all, natural nature. You know what I'm saying? And natural nature are the multiple of stars, suns, that create conditions for natural occurrence to appear, you know what I'm saying, to manifest. So we can go deep into those conversations. So I'm just freestyling right now. So speaking about the earth, because remember, from dust to dust, you go back into the earth. And genetics also it deals with those ancestral patterns and genetic blueprint. And as far as you go and go, you see the experiences you're gonna have. Your mind is gonna expand. You're gonna be in that fifth dimension, because that fifth dimension is about expanding or contracting. You know, that's one of the dimensions: expansion and contraction. Okay, so you know that's just so speaking. So the Earth Energy Center, um, and like I said too, when you get in touch with your genetic blueprint and your ancestral patterns, the food, okay, because now we're going up to the root energy center, which deals with sustainability, it deals with survival, sustainability, and the food is this. Even if you get into your ancestry and you eat like your ancestors, you have to also be careful too, because let's say that some of the stuff your ancestor ate is not for you. You know what I'm saying? It's not, what I'm saying? Because they went through their progressions. They went through their experiences in life too. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at the ancestral food, you have to also grab the ones that are beneficial for you. Because everything in life is a dichotomy. Even spirit, character, personality has a dichotomy. Everything has a dichotomy. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff is beneficial for you and some stuff is not beneficial. So let's say, you know that your ancestors ate a particular type of meat or food, but in this day and time, that's not for you in this day and time. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, you want to get into the good sources, the good food, the good sustainable stuff, the stuff. And one thing about the root chakra, when I say when you have that balance in place, everything goes online. One thing about the root chakra is that it's gonna support all the other systems in your body. The food and the way you live. The food and the way you live, your environment, um, and the way you sustain yourself with currency, the currency that you have, that amount of attention that you have, the currency which brings about monetary measurements, worth, all of that helps to support the other system, because that's the support. Helps to support your digestive system, helps to support your endocrine system, it helps to support, if I'm saying it right, endocrine. It helps to support your circular system. So you have a lot of system in you. And when you balance that root energy, you put all these systems online at its maximum, what they call maximum behavior, or the maximum, you put it online. You know what I'm saying? And help fix certain problems that you may have. So that's why I'm saying food sources are very important because that's a few. And also food for thought. You know what I'm saying? Because you might be getting some type of negativity thoughts coming into and consuming that, and that can affect your system. It could throw your whole balance out also. So that's important. The music you hear, because we're multi-dimensional, so they have frequencies out there. So it depends on the frequency also that you allow into your aura, into your system, into your body, these frequencies through the ear, right? All through your sensing through your third eye. So you sense these frequencies. It can have it's a dichotomy effect too. You can have bad frequencies out there that can throw your system out of order. So all this is related. That's what I talk about when you just use one of those energy center and you put that online, everything falls in place, and you see everything falls in place because if you use your third eye and you activate your third eye, guess what? You're gonna think different. You're gonna eat different. You're gonna feel different. All it's gonna start affecting everything you do from the root all the way up to the multiverse because now you're ascending up to the multiverse and you're going to see things very differently. So it's going to put you online. That's what I talk about, getting online. Okay, online with the multiverse. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that clears up some stuff there. So when you deal with the root energy, also, and when we talked about how it's linked to the earth and it's linked also to your sacral, which is your pleasure energy, your sexual pleasure and your pleasure. That's what gives you pleasure. We're going to speak about that more in depth. Um, I wanted, you know, I don't know. I was wrestling within my mind about, I wanted to go to the root chakra and I wanted to go into the what they call trust account and go into money. So I gave the history of money and I wanted to go into that and credit and all that. But I felt that I just think that I should just keep this particular podcast and talking about these energy center and just keep it simple and just keep it general. You know what I'm saying? Not go really, really, really in depth because that can be a long time. I mean, and when you deal with the banking system, and today when you deal with banking systems and you deal with ways, like for instance, let me throw this at you. They say, I think it's credit is king and cash is the god, right? That's a phrase that they use. Also, what I wanted to say, people that are, if you notice, people, billionaires, they eat differently. They know this knowledge. They eat differently, and they even speak differently, and they have a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about for those who they see themselves financially growing, their borders are increased naturally and beneficial for everyone. So not to get off point here. Um, so they say credit is king, right? So one thing about dealing with credit, you see, money. One thing I learned about money and that paper money, right? Or having that finance. A lot of times, the way you use it, it's like being in a casino. You know what I'm saying? Really, I thought about that. I said, well, it's like being in the casino because you're taking chances. You're putting your money here and there and there. So when you deal with credit, that's what this system is really based upon, on credit ledgers, because it's fiat money, paper, fiat money, the Federal Reserve Bank. You know what I'm saying? And one thing you know about credit is that when you're giving, let's say I put $300 into a card, a credit card, a prepaid, a credit card, unsecured credit card, right? Or secure credit card. Put $300 in there. In reality, in order for you to get your score up, right? If you're going to use that as a method to try to get your score up, that $300, you don't have access to that $300. You only have 1/3 of that. So that means you should only use $100 of that $300. 1/3 of that is to be used because the banking, that system, when they look at you, they want to make sure that you are smart enough to only use 1/3 of your earnings in order to that 1/3 of your earning is money that is used to not, for like the casino. You know what I'm saying? They want you only to use 1/3. And that's how you get your credit score up. It's a vibe because I'm getting ready to sit with my banker on Monday, and it's a vibe that to keep only like out of the $300, every monthly the payment is $35. So really, if you're gonna spend $100, try to spend even less than $100 because then your score goes up. Then it shows the monitors, right, that you are using, you're knowledgeable when it comes to dealing with that system, which is like the casino. If you're going to go to a casino, you don't spend all your money. You want to make sure that you got a money 1/3 that you're going to put out there and gamble with. But if you know if you lose it all, it's not going to affect you. It's not going to affect you at all because it's only that part of you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they want to see, is that you're intelligent enough or conscientious enough to know that I'm only going to use this amount and keep it there at 1/3, 1/3 of that in order to see your score rise and rise and rise. And I'm talking from experiences, and I tested these waters, and I took it from experience. I see my score rise, I see my score drop, right? And I noticed the pattern when I spend more than 1/3, and to show the bank that one third, if I spend more than 1/3 that I have, then they're looking at me as a risk. You know what I'm saying? The ledger, the entry is at a risk. So they want to just see you use 1/3. So you have to figure that out. You got to do the mathematics. So that's gambling, that's gambling, that's creating. So that's why I didn't want to really go into that, because then you say, what does that have to do with the root chakra, with the root energy center? Well, I mean, now in the system now, the fear that they're putting out to the public, right? It's about depression, well, for one time, inflation. Before inflation is depression, and the collapse of the monetary system. You know what I'm saying? So we can go deeply into, but I don't want to go so deeply into that. Um, but I want to say that all of that affects you, because if you allow that fear of, the financial market crashing, and all of that, and how money is losing, what we're going to do, the food, the supermarket's going to close, the schools can't open, everything is in chaos, right? Everything is in chaos. But that's fear. They're putting fear in you, and that fear is one of your most detrimental emotions that can affect your energy centers. Fear. So the more confidence, stability, self-confidence, self-esteem, and stability you have with, for instance, the root energy with currency, and how to protect your currency, your energy, with your environment, right? The currency, your environment, and your food, the more stability you have, the more balanced your energy is going to be. You know what I'm saying? And more balanced, all of the energies is going to be. So, I mean, we could have gone real deep into that, and learning how to protect that currency, that energy, you know what I'm saying, with that system that's being used. But we got to be careful, because, like I said, the system is done with. Right now, they're trying to revel up, and they're trying to create a new system within that old system. They're trying to get an extension, and they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time. I guess the start of it would be, first of all, to change the government perspective, because right now, with Trump and his Cabin and his people. There's a war going on between, it's a tribal war, they say. My brother used that term, tribal war going on between Republicans and the Democrat, right wing, left wing. But remember, they're off the same, excuse me, they're of the same system. Left wing, right wing of the same bird. Okay, the right side, the left side of the same entity. So it's a war going on between them, but that's over with. They're just trying to get an extension. They're trying to set that stage. You know what I'm saying? That everything is all right. But meanwhile they run behind the scene and says, "Man, this is chaos. We gotta. Wow, how are we gonna survive?" Most of these big CEOs left their companies and went into access to bunkers and getting ready to, if this thing really get to that point, they can escape. You know what I'm saying? Right now, that's what's happening. They're thinking about a lot of that stuff. They know that they're in a situation right now that they got to be careful. And this COVID-19 is a perfect platform to that they can use to sort of like limit the amount of people around them. That's one. Okay. Limit the sources that people have. You know what I'm saying? That's two. Limit the amount of services they have. Limit the amount of involvement that they have with people. You know what I'm saying? So you can see that it's a perfect platform for them to sort of like protect themselves, if you want to look at it that way. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't want to get into this political thing, and people are gonna say, "Oh, conspiracy." People that talk about conspiracy don't even know what that word even means. Because I have the conspiracy encyclopedia. They got a encyclopedia that has conspiracy theory encyclopedia, and it lists a lot of things that they claim to be conspiracy. But when you really look at it, a lot of these things happen. you know and so, but they don't really understand conspiracy. It's a crime. It's when you commit a crime, like the mafia conspire with they say that the mafia conspire from not paying certain taxes, the when you conspire with other people to murder other people. What I'm saying? That's conspiracy. What I'm saying? So, but they use this word conspiracy theory, they use it way out of context. People use it way out of context. Because to say that I'm a conspiracist would be like, well, then who am I conspiring against? What crime am I committing? What, speaking my perspective is a conspiracy? Really? Gotta really think about that. So people throw that word. What I learned also about, and like I said, I'm free. I'm just freestyling. You know, because I want to move on later on, maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow night. I don't know when I feel in the spirit of it. I want to go into the sacral energy and that dealing with sex force, and so we're going to discuss that. And also, I study Kama Sutra, and people they are misinformed about Kama Sutra also, because Kama Sutra comes with Shata Sutra, and that's a different form, and it comes with a lot of preparation, and they're just taking it out of content, because you got a lot of people that write books and positions to do sex position, but they don't understand how that creates energy. That's a whole practice. That's a whole science. Even when it comes amongst the Hindus, certain tribes, that sex force, what I'm saying, in African tribes, that's a whole different animal. Today's day and time, we're way out of bounds when it comes to that. So, we wanted to speak on that. So it's going to be probably late at night, and it's going to disclaim. It's going to be the what's it, explicit. Watch, it's going to be explicit language and stuff like that. But that's a sacral energy center, and that's a part of life. That's human experience, and we have to talk about it. We can't be ashamed to talk about that. What I'm saying? Or we have to explore that. We have to really, really think about that, because, like I said, each center affects the other centers too. What I'm saying? And we're going to explore that. How these centers affect each other. So now we know how the Earth center affects your root center. You know, And now we're going to find out how the root center affects your sacral center, and that sacral center is going to affect your root and earth center. So it's going to go, and you're going to see it going up, 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 up. You know what I'm saying? And and then so where was I? Oh man, I'm just going at it here today. Um, Another thing I wanted to do is, the system of once you got yourself online, how do you communicate with the multiverse? That's very important. Some people pray, but I don't like to use the word prayer and not even meditation, because meditation reminds me of medication. Meditation is medication. You take your medication, boom, you think everything is okay. Doesn't work like that. Pray, you look at the word pray, you look at homonym, it would be pray, to pray on something, right? To pray on it be to attack it and stuff like that. So you don't attack the multiverse. You don't ask you don't beg the multiverse. Okay? So when people pray, they begging, oh Lord, please, that's uh I don't know, I don't prescribe to that, you know. So what I do is I have reverence, I revere the multiverse in a certain way. So there's certain positions, like you got the Hindus got yoga, right? There are certain positions in indigenous that were taught in an Atlantean ancient society. There's certain positions that are written that are pictographed on the walls of these ancient civilizations that are throughout, not only in Kemet that you find in Giza, but you find them in Peru. You find them all over the positions. And so they have a common denominator. You see these positions appear in all of this. Like for instance, the fetal position is very, very important. That's the last position. That's the fetal position where you're on the ground and you're fetal. You see that a lot in all the world. You see that position a lot. Okay. Then you have the standing erect position for when you revere and you get ready. Attention. So you have what they call attention, right? Then you step into your attention, your character, personality. Then you come down on one knee, and it's like where they get the oath taking, right? Which is a misleading. It's a what do you call a misrepresentation of what that really is, and that is you acknowledging the power, and that you centering your heart center. Okay, and that's that position like this that you see statues, ancient Kemet, on statues in Peru. You see statues do this position like this. Okay, and they're on one knee, on the right knee. Okay, that's the position before you get it. So those positions is like you would say like an ancient yogic, for the lack of a better word. Well, Hindu. I mean, I learn a lot from Hinduism. As a matter of fact, what they're finding out now that the civilization of the Indus Valley goes back into ancient time. Is a very, very ancient civilization, and influenced a lot of other civilizations. They're finding that out. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, the economy of things, you got one side practice a certain way, another side practice another way, and you got to be very careful with that. But anyway, I wanted to go into that and then maybe one day demonstrate it, and so that way you have it on your archives. Whatever you want to say, I want to do it. I want to do these positions like this yoga type of position, instead of because the Hindu took it to another level. That's contorting your body. I've done some yoga. It's nice, but man, that's contorting your body. So they took it to another level. I kind of like use a simple way, but at the same time, yes, my body is taking on certain positions, and certain systems are being activated by the different positions that you take. You can tell how a person's diet is by the way they stand, by the way they position their shoulders. You could tell whether they have a good diet or bad diet. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about people that are born like that. I'm talking about people that eventually start doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's positioning,
plays a very, very huge, important, um, um, plays a very important part in activating your centers. Yeah. So after we're done going through these centers and so like exploring it and see how if it, then we're going to talk about how what physical method we use to put it online and have reverence for it. And then of course meditation to me is concentration. You know, I don't use the word meditation much because that's remind me of medication and stuff like that. And I feel uh, I'm for free form, but it's concentration. You gotta have. It teaches you concentration. You gotta have a certain amount of concentration and attention too. So it helps with attention. It helps with with the concentration. You know, simply that. So that's gonna be something else who I want to demonstrate and explore. And these are skills. Like I said, it's about expanding and sharing. Certain things. There's certain things that you cannot share because of this day and time. I'm saying you got to be very careful. There are sacred practices that you you know I won't be able to share online. You know, and I'm talking about online in the centers. I'm talking about on the internet line. What I'm saying? There's certain things you can't share because it's just not. You could hint upon certain things, but certain things won't be should be shared. Because those are sacred, sacred, sacred knowledge that helps in achieving another. Because remember, you got 9 dimensions, you got 9 energy centers, but then you got on top of that, you got nine. It's infinite. The multiverse is infinite, and you can tap on to this infinity. Some people it scares people because if you was to go to the edge of a black hole, trust me, it's gonna scare the bejeebies out of you. You know what I'm saying? So people are right now they don't understand the concept of death, and they fear death. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. So we're talking about a different area that we're going to also go into. You know what I'm saying? we're, we're going to explore those. But anyway, so the root chakra, it's also your renewal chakra, right? Everything starts, the genesis of it starts with the earth energy. That's the genesis. That's where everything begins with, is your genetic makeup and your ancestry. And then you go to renew it, you have to support, strengthen that support, which is through food, through your environment. You know what I'm saying? So we got food, shelter, your environment, and your currency. And I'm gonna keep using those. Your food source, your sustenance, your currency, and your stability environment. Your environment. You know, instead of using food, shelter, and what was it? What is it? Food, shelter, and money. We're gonna use food sustenance, right? We're gonna use currency for money, and we're gonna use environment for shelter. You know what I'm saying? So as to broaden that out. You know what I'm saying? To go more deep. Because remember, we're speaking the English language, and the English language is. I'm doing a study right now because I took writing also course. You had to take writing at NYU, and some of my courses was very interesting because it talks about narrative, function, function words, and trigger, which are the trigger words, the function words, and the narratives, and it talks about things. So it's interesting because when you get to know a lot of these narratives and get to know how they operate. You get to see how language and linguistics, when you take a linguistic course, you get to see how linguistics and how it affects environment. And that's when we're going to explore that when we talk about this energy center, which is your voice. What gives you the voice? And that's where that comes in, the narrative. Okay. So I don't want to go too deeply into it now. I want to save that for that. But let's explore more about the root. Um, so your currency, what you put your energy into, what I'm saying, and then that's being measured by the amount of right in today's system. You have what they call money, paper money, legal tender. You know what I'm saying? But you say to yourself, man, when this, if that, let's say the global currency reset is it's, let's say that comes into play. You know what I'm saying? And on a global market, the dollar loses its value, and I think that's what's really happening because that's that war tariff they had with China. You know what I'm saying? I think that China got frustrated in a way. China was abusing. I think a lot of other country was abusing the United States because they were seeing that dollar value go down because they had no worth, no substance. And then what happened with this country is it got bankrupt in 1933, right? So they asked everybody to turn in their gold and all that, and it was even considered unlawful to have gold. You know what I'm saying? It was considered to be a crime to have gold or stockpile of gold and silver. So, but what they did was they pledged the energy, the people. Let me look at it. 1 second. I wrote it down. I wrote it down. They actually pledge our Jesus. What do I do with it? Uh, Somewhere around here. They actually pledge our energy. You know what I'm saying? Your faith and your character, personality, your spirit was it is pledged to the state due to the existing national emergency because it was bankrupt. They needed a collateral now, and what they did was they pledged our very lives, pledge our energy and stuff like that. That's when you see a lot of businesses appearing, and for instance, prisons. Prison became a business, privatized business, and you had a lot of companies, pharmaceutical companies, were able to go into the prisons and test their product, and even in the health system too, to test their product. I mean, I was sitting one time in the doctor's office, and this salesman comes in and was selling the doctor this medicine, these pills, and was telling him, I'll put up, let me put up some posters around here, and this is and that. We'll give you some free trial, and they take the free trials, and they'll charge you for that, or not. They don't charge you, but push this product, push this product. So a lot of that product was experimental, because later on they find out that that product has a lot of side effects, and that product created a lot of other which in turn, that's where the insurance took over. You know what I'm saying? That industry. So it's a complex system. You know what I'm saying? That goes on. Now people say, "Oh, that's conspiracy." Conspiracy. No, this is evident. You see this play out all the time. Just think about it. You see it play out all the time. I mean, just experience it. Just open up your mind, and when you experience things, and think about what you're experiencing at that moment, and then look at the system now. You know what I'm saying? So when they pledge your energy and your spirit, your spirit, which is your character and personality, when they pledge that, they allow other countries to come in here, set up their business or do business, and use the energy of the people. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you see a lot of prisons being formed, and a lot of hospitals, and so this this is something to think about. You know what I'm saying? Because the dollar bill is not backed up. The commodity, the economics is not backed up by any. gold or silver. It doesn't have it. Now, I think that Russia stockpiled their gold. I mean, certain countries are stockpiling their gold right now. You know what I'm saying? And then, when they say with the world, Wall Street, when that fell down, that there was a lot of gold down there, that it disappeared. Fort Knox, it said, doesn't have the gold anymore. And in the Fort Knox, they don't only keep gold, they keep opium and morphine in that vaults, because that's another commodity. You see, that's where we come from, the Middle East. That's the military, and that's a commodity that help establish, and help fund the military, stuff like that. Is those wars and those commodity from those countries, like opium is a big commodity from Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, on that area. Opium is one of the huge commodity. I mean, we had a opiate pandemic here a couple of years ago. They were talking about the opium pandemic, and then you see in Congress they had all these trials and all these committee meetings and stuff like that, because they were trying to lower down this opium pandemic. It's an opium pandemic. Well, where do you think the opium came from? And also came from areas like China, Asia. China, Iraq, Iran, you know what I'm saying? I did a whole podcast about that, when it deals with the biblical narrative, you know what I'm saying? We broke that down. But, this country right now is, one of the commodities that it does have is opium, because of the Iraq, and it's sustaining itself through that. And then what happened is got into a little trade war with China, because China also had the opium. China had a lot of other commodities that it was bringing into this country, and United States of America was giving them uh, 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 um, stocks and bonds, and saying, "Hey, listen, um, we promised to pay at a future date." But they knew they didn't have. They don't have. They knew they didn't have the gold. They knew they couldn't have anything to back up that dollar. I remember when I was working at Radio City Music Hall. I worked there for like 8 years, and I remember that's Rockefeller Center. And then the Rockefeller Center, they sold 51% of the Rockefeller Center was leased to the Japanese Mitsubishi family. Owned 51% of Rockefeller Center. This was happening in the 80s, because this was the collapse of the uh, of the reserves, Federal Reserve. This was the beginning of this collapse going on, and from then on, you're seeing a lot of black market. You're seeing a lot of fall, the collapse of the market, and they were leasing out Rockefeller Center. And Rockefeller Center has a lot of publishing companies in there. It has a lot of entertainment company. NBC was located there. Has a lot of Time Warner was at Rockefeller Center. So, all these companies that were invested in what? People. The commodity was the people. Because people buy the books. People buy the magazines. People listen to the music. People go to the concerts. This is what Rockefeller Center was invested in. And Mitsubishi bought 51% of that company, of that Rockefeller Center, that corporation. Because that's a corporation. Rockefeller Center is a corporation. You know, created by the Rockefeller Center, but then you've seen that other families took over that center, you know, and so you see the exchange, and you see that when you work, you see that from the inside when you're working for a company in Rockefeller Center, then automatically you see the change overnight. Now we're not known as this company, we're known as this company, the parent company, and this we got brought out, and so you see that happening, and that's because, you know, again, the leasing of just our energy, our spirit, our energy. And when I say spirit, remember our character, personality, our survival, our energy and our faith in the system. All of that is being pledged to back up the dollar bill. But now what's happening is they have a problem because people are now pushing back to the government, and they're trying to subdue it. They're trying to subdue it. They're behind closed doors figuring out what are we going to do? How are we going to put this together? Let's get rid of this man and put in Biden and Harris. let's do this, let's do that, let's do that, let's make everything okay for the people. We got to show everything. If not, continue rioting. People are gonna push back, and it gets to a point that's gonna spread, and it gets to a point where these politicians, the cabal, they're gonna run for their life. They're running for their lives right now. They're running. You know, I always wonder why these people, if they're so for the people and the people love them and this and that, why do every time they come through here they got to come with a motorcade car and they come with shields and tinted windows and SUVs, a bunch of SUVs that stop, the traffic is stopped and everything. They come through. I that always say like, why, man? If you're one for the people, you should be out with the people. You know what I'm saying? There's always that. But I understand that sometimes you have to be protected because they're public service, and sometimes you know people may not agree, and there are some crazy people out there, that want to snuff them out or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but what that has to do with the root energy is creating your environment. You know what I'm saying? Is very important. Your shelter, your home. There's certain lights you can get, candles, or not candles, those lights. I like those. I'm gonna get some here. So like the Christmas light, the lights, I see that a lot. My mother suggested I get that. Create your environment. Create. Hey, I got my space here, and I create my environment. I want my studio here. You know, I create my environment that's stable. You know what I'm saying, and keep it on a positive note that's beneficial. When you use the word positive and negative, positive means to position yourself. Negative means to negate. So sometimes what could be you negating something could be positive for another person. By you positioning yourself a certain way, we call positive, you could be negative charged to another entity or person. So that's a positive and negative. So, that's how language is, you know what I'm saying? So, when I was talking about linguistics, when you start learning more about linguistics and learning that and narratives, fiction and nonfiction and writing skills and stuff like that, you start seeing how people are affected by certain things you say or certain things that people write affect your environment. But in the sake of the root, in the root energy, you have to be concerned about what you allowed into your environment. You know what I'm saying? Even down to the written works. You know, people that may want to come into your environment. You know what I'm saying? Um, and also, like I say, that's very important when it deals with that environment shelter, sustainability shelter. Um, also what you eat, who's cooking it, the vibe, and of course, just your currency, your energy. Not to put your energy to the wrong thing, which the outcome is not going to be beneficial for you. So you got to put your energy into the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Constantly, you got to be aware of that because that is your energy, your commodity. That's the commodity. In naturality, it's your attention, your energy. That's the new commodity. That's the new money. You know, that's the ancient way of doing things. It's what attention you have, what attention you bring, what currency you bring. Okay, that is beneficial of to us as a whole. As a whole, what's beneficial to us as a whole body? You know, very very important. You know. So anyway, that's I'm recapping and I'm just freestyling. You know, I should have done this maybe on Zoom and have people come in, but I don't know who's watching right now. Maybe later on you'll watch this podcast. And but I want to one day do something like that and bring certain like-minded people and learn also what you learn. Share with me what you learn, and let's expand it. And like I said, like-minded people, because that's what's happening. now is that, you know, there there there's certain people that has been um, um, putting themselves in a position of power for 10,000 years. You know what I'm saying? These are the families. These are houses of Orange, houses of Harrisburg. There's different, family that invested themselves in their currency was power and controlling certain trade, controlling certain land, environment and stuff like that. And trade, most important, trade. You know what I'm saying? So these, they they knew that this time was up where we're gonna go through a cycle, and this cycle is going to. I was already at its bottom, rock bottom. They hit rock bottom, and now we're rising up, what they call the revolutionary stage. We're rising up the sun cycle. We're rising up. They talk about that in the Mayan calendar. They talk about it in the Ethiopian calendar. They talk about it in different calendars in the yoga. We're in the Satya yoga. They talk about the four yoga uh, uh, um, era in cycles. So everything is cycle. It goes over and over. So they know in this day and time that the global, the cosmo, everything is resetting itself, and people are going online. It's like it's like you see these movies where the alien comes, and there was already aliens here, but their system went online, and they come out of the ground. You know what I'm saying? Wars are world of wars. You know what I'm saying? You see that? Well, I kind of think that that's what's happening. Is that a lot of what they call us a critical mass? They call us the spiritual ones, the chosen ones, the indigo ones, or whatever names they have for. There is a certain the population. Certain people are starting to rise. They're starting to go online. They're starting to light up like a Christmas tree. You know what I'm saying? And it's freaking them out. It's freaking these people that operate with in the dark forces. They behind the scene. It's freaking them out because it's like, wow, it's happening all over again. We read about this. Our ancestors left us these tablets. They're starting to rise, and they're gonna push back. You know what I'm saying? Because, people are afraid, or not people that they're afraid. People are now pushing back on the powers that certain people have. You shouldn't have all that power. It shouldn't be like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is how they're feeling. This is what's happening. It's this pushback. Of course, you got those sellouts, and you got those people that fake the funk. What I say, and they be like, yeah, yeah, there's a difference between being conscious, what they call woke, and being spiritual. There's a difference. When you're conscious and you're woke, it just means that you're aware of certain things. But when you're spiritual, you're invested in your character and personality, and you become conscientious. That means you become aware of the beneficials, and you become aware of your actions, of what you do. You know what I'm saying? Not like people out there that they claim to be so conscious and awoke, but yet they harbors a lot of hate for other people. That's not being conscientious. That's not being, you know, spiritual. Not at all. Because it's a difference. You could be conscious and awake and not be spiritual at all. You know, you know. You could be aware of the biblical narrative. You could be conscious and awake and be religiously aware of a lot of things. That's a difference, you know. So when you deal with spirituality, like I said, spirit is breath, spiritus, breath, and spirit has a circular stirring. Spirit, spiritus, has a circular breath. It's circular. So it has a circular. When the Taino seen the huracan, was the spirit of the huracan, and you see it twirling. Spirit has a spherical. That's why I say everything has spirit because everything has a vibration and it has an orbit. The nucleus and the protons and neutrons, when they go deep into that science and see that everything has this spirit in it. You know what I'm saying? This spherical sort of formation. You know what I'm saying? That's what spirit is. And this is and creates character and personality. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a bad character, means you have a bad spirit. You have a good character, you have a good spirit. You know what I'm saying? It goes interchangeable. You know, so that's what spirit is. So if you're aware of that, you're conscious of your spirit, that means you're spiritual. But you could be conscious, awake, aware of certain narrative. So you get invested in writings and logos. You get invested in these writings and gods and this and that. But you're not spiritual. That means you're not actually stirring up. You're not, let's say, you're not invested in that. You're not seeing these wheels in motion. You know, so I talk about Ezekiel wheel when he's seeing the in the biblical narrative, God in motion, the Ezekiel wheel. You know what I'm saying? And that all have narrative. Let me tell you, that's a trip. That all has significance. And there's when you deal with writing and you deal with narrative writing and scripts and stuff, there's certain stuff that are meant to be literal and some stuff that meant symbolic and symbolic. But this is the trick. When you mix literal and symbolic together in a phrase, that's tricky. You see, if you study Shakespeare, people don't know. When you read Shakespeare, it's a lot of people don't like to read Shakespeare. People hated their English class, and the professor comes up and gives you a Shakespearean book, right? Like what was Hamlet or Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was one of the books playwright because Shakespeare was a playwright, but it was difficult in the class, and it was meant to to induce certain logical thinking. And the professor used to watch if you were able to distinguish what's literal, something that's literal and something that's metaphorical, something that is symbolical, metaphorical, right? It's like it's mashed together. When you look at Shakespeare, you got a couple of sentences that could be literally, and then all of a sudden it shifts into symbolical, a metaphorical thing. You know what I'm saying? So this is a style of writing, is a Shakespearean style of writing. And not only Shakespeare, a lot of other authors. I don't know who wrote the Man from La Mancha, Don Quixote, Man from La Mancha, but that also does the same thing too. So a lot of these literal works, especially that came out of Renaissance, they use this skill. You know what I'm saying? And it's to cause, in one hand, confusion, and then when you cause a confusion, to see who's able to sip it out. You know what I'm saying? This was a way of thinking, a logical thinking that they were inhibiting. So when you look, I get these biblical narrative, and I get them with that. I says, how can you really stand to reason the biblical narrative if you can't stand to reason Shakespeare, because it's written it's written out of the same style, because it came from that time too. When they did that translation, what, the 1611 or 1511, during that time, well, those at Shakespearean times. You know what I'm saying? Confusion. So this is something when you're aware, and one day I'm gonna do a podcast about that, and we're gonna explore that a little bit. I'm beginning to like this because I'm beginning to have this conversation with myself at the same time, hoping that those out there like-minded will be able to share it and we're able to get something out of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but the main thing, I don't want to rattle on too much and go into many different avenues. But going back full circle about we're completing the root energy, the discussion on that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go into the UCC filing. Or there's some stuff that if you want later on to do a podcast about that, want me to do it, then you're just gonna have to hit me up and say, hey, listen, man, what do you know about this? You know, and what's your intake on this? You know what I'm saying? But I can go on and on and on and on. I could be long winded. I mean, it's already been an hour I've been speaking. It seems like I've been only speaking for 15 minutes. I don't want to do this too long. But anyway, you know, um, so the next podcast I'm going to do is going to deal with the sacral center, and that one we're going to really touch upon a few things because it deals with sex, and the sex force, the sex mind, what they call the sex mind, and how that can also affect your root very much. Very much. It's trippy. I'm gonna tell you. Uh, Let me just hint on something real quickly before I go and talking about this sacral and how sex plays an important role when it comes to the root and the earth. The way sex could impose on your earth is genetics, because again, it deals with genetics. So you have genetic exchange of genetics, blueprint, exchange of ancestral patterns are being exchanged through sex to the DNA, right? So we know that, right? Also, the when you see that certain civilizations, ancestral civilizations, practice sex a certain way, you know what I'm saying? Some good or some bad. That's all I gotta say. But we're talking about an ancestral civilization that comes from this side, from the Atlantean, from Utla. And there's certain practices, right? How do they affect your root chakras? Like this. They have what you call when a woman, when your sex partner is too easy with her sexual self with you. You know what I'm saying? You can get it whenever you want, and this, you're happy, you get it whenever you want. That kinds of create a stagnant environment, a dead environment. And this is the reason why. Because if I feel that I can get pleasure from you all the time, and I don't have to go to work, and I don't have to do nothing, I don't have to help you pay no bills or nothing. You know what I'm saying? You're contributing to me, to my laziness. Now, if you hold back and you say, man, you ain't gonna get some of this until you straighten your life and do this. You gotta earn this. You know what I'm saying? You got to earn this. You gotta go out there. You gotta show me that you at least, you got some, you know what I'm saying? Because this is genetic material being exchanged. And you want to make sure your ancestors are being satisfied because you're choosing your mate. It's on point. So this is what I'm talking about. How that the way you energize this particular cycle can affect the root chakra, because that person's not going to need the need to survive because he's got everything or she got everything she wants there. You know what I'm saying? That's the power of the sex force. You know, that's the power. That's just one little touch surface of that. Think about it. And I don't want to start anything amongst couples out there and everything, but with that particular organ, which is sexual organ, that comes with a responsibility too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us, we lost that responsibility through time because people just started taking them. Look at the movies and look at the way environment when they sort of like took it to another level and sort of like damaged that, disrupted that particular energy center. It's very, very, very important, you know. So that's just one of the things I wanted to say, that we have to be careful because we're exchanging genetic material, and we have to also charge up when you invested in the sacral energy center and that pleasure center, and you have that balance, and everything else becomes balanced. And the way, and you know, some of the way to balance that. Well, and I don't want to reveal it here because I want to talk about it in depth when we do that podcast. So in this podcast, we recapped it. You know, we recapped. We went over the root. You know what I'm saying, how important it is to, you know, if you're going to invest yourself in that, in the root, which is a support system, it's very important. Because remember, it supports all the other systems, like your circular system, the digestive system. It supports that once you have that particular energy imbalance. And the way you balance that is by eating the right food, consuming the right thing, and by thinking the right thoughts, and by living in the right environment. Simple, you know. Eat your right foods, establish your right, have your right environment, establish your right environment, make that comfortable, make an environment, spiritual environment, and also um, your energy. Be cognizant, watch your energy level, and watch where you put your attention at. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna, you know, watch you put your attention at the right thing, positive things that's gonna help you grow, right? You're gonna watch that. You're gonna watch your environment, and you're gonna watch what you intake. And that's all of that is gonna support your system, your circular system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, all these different systems that you have in your nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, you know, all these systems that you have that are connected too. As a matter of fact, the sympathetic system is connected to your solar plex energy center. And that we're going to go into after we do the sacral, will be the solar plex. And you're going to see how it affects all these other systems. And your system goes online, activated, it goes online, and on and on and on. Into when we're done with this, we're going to already be in the multiverse. We're going to explore that. We're going to go into astrobiology. We're going to go into etheric realms and astrobiology, astrophysics. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go deep into that. I mean, I love dealing with astrobiology and stuff like that, because when you do that, you're aligned, and you know you get to open up channels, and therefore you start walking different, you start talking different. If you notice, you start walking different, talking different, acting different, you know what I'm saying, feeling good, talking good, smelling good. You start, it'll start showing up. And then when you walk in the street, people be knowing what, you're gonna see that double take, like, hmm, something is up with this person, seems to be online. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to watch those that want to attack those that are online, because you got predators out there. But don't, no fear, don't fear, because that's the shield that you're going to put upon yourself. Okay. So anyway, peace. I care for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to my channel, Silos Conga. Where is it? Right here. Silos Conga. Subscribe. Smash that like button. Come on now, smash it. And please, I mean, I got one dislike. I'm like, what the hell did I say? What did I do? I'm just being myself. And man, if you don't like it, it's okay, man. But you know what? Like Bob Marley said, every man was a child, a little baby. Every person was a little baby. You know, Bob Marley said that every person was a little baby at once. That's right. I look at everyone. We're babies in this universe, man. where, and Mother Earth is taking care of us, and Father Earth is shining up, giving us love, caring every day. You know what I'm saying? Natural nature is all around us, man. Breathe. And I hope that you looked at that breathing exercise. I'm still doing that every day. The breathing through the nose and up and then and releasing that energy. And that's gonna be when we're done speaking about all these different energy centers. Then we'll do the breathing exercise, breathing reverence again, and then we'll do the physical reverence of the different positions. It's like a yoga. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll get into that. So again, peace.